This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 42.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to yet another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 42, and I've got an amazing guest for you today. Her name is Andrea Lake. She's a serial entrepreneur. She started 14 businesses while making millions of dollars along the way. And today she will be sharing her story with you, Extra Paycheck Podcast listeners. So enjoy today's show and pay attention. Hi, Andrea, and welcome to the Extra Paycheck Podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Andrea, please tell us a little bit more about yourself and what is that you do at this very moment as a business.
Well, I have several companies right now. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started 14 companies. My current active companies are stickerjunkie.com, Yoga Junkie, Mentor Mojo, Lessons.biz, and most of my background is in apparel. I owned the exclusive sales rights on Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Walking Dead, all of the biggest gaming and geek properties in the world. So my business partner who started Tap Out Clothing and I got together and started Lessons.biz, where we teach people how to actually, for real, start a t-shirt company, start to finish.
Wow, that is, you just gave me so much information that I don't even know what to ask because I have like so many questions in my head. First of all, 14 companies that you have started. Wow, that's incredible. That's a lot.
It really is a lot. I've been in business for a long time, but that was over the last 20 years.
Wow, that's really awesome. Even in 20 years, people, a lot of people struggle all their life to start a single company, and you did 14 so far. And I'm sure that's not all for you. I'm sure you're gonna do some more eventually.
It's true, I will. I think that the thing that most entrepreneurs realize once they've done one company, and this was certainly the case with me, I realized that I could run any company. Like I know how to run a company and how to start a company, and it's not rocket science. There actually are formulas that you can use to make it much, much easier, especially now with the internet. There's so much information available. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. So Andrea, since you just mentioned you started Lessons.biz to teach people how to start a t-shirt company.
Yes.
So I guess, it would kind of be a useless question asking you if you think starting a t-shirt company is still a viable option in 2016, let's say.
Oh, absolutely. It's actually way easier now. It's way easier to start now. There is more competition, of course, so there's that. But it used to be incredibly expensive to start a t-shirt company. It used to, cost like maybe $20,000, $30,000 at least just to start, just to get the basic stuff that you needed. And now you can do it at home on your computer almost for free.
Yeah, that actually is incredible. And there've been companies like Cafe Press,
yes.
or I don't remember many of them, but what I know is that recently I got an email from Amazon since I'm a seller on it, and they pitched this new thing. It's called Amazon Merch or Merch by Amazon, I think. And basically you could sell your own t-shirts on Amazon and they do everything for you. Just send a design and they print it. They charge you quite a bit per every t-shirt. I think it's at least $8 or $10 per t-shirt, and whatever price you sell it for. Or I'm not sure exactly how it works, but as you mentioned, it's so easy. Just send in your design and they do all the work for you.
It is. It's incredible how far we've come with technology. I'm actually setting up an Amazon store specifically for every t-shirt design that I ever sold to Hot Topic, because those would trend in and trend out. I was Hot Topic's #1 word t-shirt vendor for years. Wow. And we're just going to put them on Amazon and see how they do, because they haven't been available for 10 years. So, and they're very funny slogans. So it's incredible that now you don't have to stock inventory. You don't have to go buy the blank t-shirts. You don't have to support the order. And so $8 is an incredible bargain. You save so much money not having to warehouse all of that merchandise that you don't know whether or not it's going to sell. It's really a fantastic service.
Yeah, that's it is. And see, this is another reason why I started my online venture with affiliate marketing. And that's what I recommend to a lot of people, because for that specific reason you just mentioned, it's not affiliate marketing, the Merch by Amazon, but affiliate marketing works in the same way, meaning that you don't have to stock up, you don't need to have the product, you don't need to ship it. You don't, you just promote it and someone else takes care of everything else.
It's very nice. It's a very, very good way to go. We're very happy for our affiliate friends that we have for Lessons Taught Biz. And they're very happy too, because they don't have to create a course. They don't have to have had 20 years of experience in the t-shirt industry to then be able to have the knowledge to write the book, to write the course, to go teach it. They just send out to their list and make money. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and then I have that same question. That we just kind of touched it a little bit. There's so many people selling t-shirts of different kinds and different designs and different everything. How can one differentiate their brand or their t-shirt to actually make sales? Or is it all about marketing, or is it about an original idea for a t-shirt, or what is that all about?
It really is a combination of both of them, but the most important thing is marketing. In any business, if you're not spending 50% of your money on marketing, you're probably doing it wrong, because you can have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows that it exists, you really are in trouble and nobody's going to buy it. So with t-shirts, it's really just about getting eyes on the product, because it's such an impulse purchase. And I call it a bottomless market, because you probably have 50 t-shirts, and if you see another one you like, you're going to buy it. And so I think it's a combination of really good design, of course, sells, but people have to see that really good design. And simplicity sells. Some of my best sellers have been like, I heart yoga, or I heart beer, or I heart just about anything. I heart anything sells. I heart pit bulls. I heart whatever. It depends on what audience you're selling to. Those are all shirts I actually have sold a lot of. So
that's really awesome.
Yeah. Something that appeals to a really broad audience. And that's actually one of the things I always recommend to our students, to the owners of our course, is to have your shirts that have your brand on it, which a lot of them want to do, but we teach them top to bottom how to build out their brand as well. But then also to have stuff that just people are just going to buy. That doesn't have to be necessarily closely affiliated with your brand. It should be on trend for you. It should be on brand for you, but it doesn't have to say like just tap out. Like Dan could have done I Heart MMA shirts, or I Heart Jiu-Jitsu, or something more clever than that, but something that people would buy either way.
Yeah. And I've noticed that local malls through the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, every single boutique sells shirts is basically saying swag or grind or hustle, just stuff like that.
It sells. If you put hustle on a shirt, somebody's going to buy it. So stuff like that. Yeah. It's true. It's funny how easy it is. And then it's just a matter of really getting people's eyes on it, because if they see it, they'll buy it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So Andrea, you're in all this retail business, clothing, making stuff, and eventually you launch Lessons.biz. Mm-hmm. What is that all about? Like, how did that idea come to you, and how did it get launched?
Well, I've always wanted to teach. It's always my favorite thing that I do whenever I get asked to go lecture somewhere. And Dan and I was on a TV show a long time ago. I was on The Apprentice, and I started teaching classes at the Learning Annex right as my season was airing. They had approached me and said, hey, will you teach this class? And it was about how to start a t-shirt company. And so I would always have a guest lecturer, a surprise person show up and lecture with me, depending on what city I was in. And whenever I was in LA, which is where Dan lives, I would have him come and guest lecture with me. And then one day we're on stage, and I told this trick about how if you negotiate your screen prices, you'll save $1,500 in your first year of cost. And he told some other trick, I don't remember what it was, that would save you probably another $1,000 in your first year. And I started laughing, and I looked at him and I said, Dan, if you knew all of this when you started, how much money would you have saved? And we're on stage in front of hundreds of people, and he just starts laughing really hard. He goes, oh my God, Andrea, I would have saved like $1 million. And I said, you know what, me too, but I would have saved $10,000 in my first year. And we left that night and ended up going out to dinner and talking for hours about how we really, really had to teach people all of this stuff, because there's a lot of products out there that are maybe inspirational or whatever, but they're not brass tacks, checklists, do this, do this, do this, do this, and you're going to have a successful company. And I always thought, why not? Why don't you have the most common niches in business with a celebrity entrepreneur who's made hundreds of millions of dollars in that industry, teaching you exactly how to do it. Like, there's no good way that entrepreneurship is taught right now. And I wanted to bridge that gap. So t-shirts is just the first vertical. Then we'll do restaurants, how to become a really high paid personal trainer, how to totally become a kick-ass real estate agent, down the most common routes of entrepreneurship that people want to enter into, that are super passionate about that field, but that perhaps they just don't know that much about business. So that is what lessons.biz will be. And we have a sister company, mentormojo.com, which is a platform that teaches more broad-based business lessons, where lessons.biz goes very, very, very deep into specific niche verticals. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That is a great idea. And if we look at sites like Udemy, which is based on selling courses on very specific subjects, right? I think this is there's a very high demand for it right now, and a lot of people would, be interested. And since I promote some programs sometimes, and I have my free email course that I'm offering to my email subscribers, oftentimes people ask me, well, why would I pay for this for such a course when I could get all the information for free? And I tell them, you know what? I encourage you, go ahead, go look it up for free.
That's right.
The difference is that here, for a relatively small amount, it's not even an amount, I call it an investment, for relatively small investment, you're getting information that's well researched, that's proven to work, and that's really easy to follow. Or you could spend half of a year browsing through a whole bunch of different resources online, free resources, and trying to kind of compile that information into one piece that's understandable. And the thing is, you will find all the information online for free, right? Or most of it. But you'll never find it in, how should I put it? You'll never find it structured in like kind of an easy to follow path,
Yes. And you don't have access to ask questions to people like Dan and I who've sold tens of millions of t-shirts, or you who have the personal experience of running these programs. So there is value in having the interaction as well. But we do have some courses where we don't have interaction, but most of our courses, we have a lot of interaction. So when somebody is going to an event and selling, they will just post on our Facebook wall and ask us, how can we increase the sales there, and we will answer them or we'll critique their websites and we're very hands-on actually on this course.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think this is what really works as well. Like you said, interaction and being able to have your questions answered, that helps a lot, especially when you're starting a business or even just thinking about starting it.
Well, it
no matter the industry.
And when you're doing your own research and you've never done something before, you're just going to get tons of conflicting answers. Half the people are going to tell you to go this way and half the people are going to tell you to go that way. And who are these people that are telling you these things? So, maybe it's somebody that sold $5,000 worth of t-shirts, but that's not very much. And it's not very much profit. And they're not going to know how to really scale a business, or they're not going to have the same answers that people who have built massive brands would have.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
There are also people that would invest $5,000, $10,000 into what they call a t-shirt company, and they would never sell a single t-shirt.
That's right.
And there are many reasons for that, right? And those people would also give out advice telling one, don't start a t-shirt company. It's a dead business. I tried and I failed. Well, buddy, the fact that you failed points out to something else. Like we already mentioned several times on this show, there are thousands of t-shirt companies that are doing very well. They're like tens of thousands of people probably, they're making a living selling t-shirts online, and it works. It doesn't work for everyone because for different reasons. Maybe he didn't do the marketing properly. Maybe he overpaid for his t-shirt. There's so many reasons why it doesn't work for some people and works for others. But these kind of people will also give you advice. And as you mentioned, well, who do you trust? How do you really know, what this guy's telling you, if it's true or if it's, it's his experience. But honestly, I would rather pay someone who has a proven track record and who can show me that they have so much experience as you do, let's say, and you've done as many sales as you have done. I would honestly rather trust you because you have something to show and, prove me that you know how it's done.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way. I buy courses all the time. I just bought Jeff Walker's course on launch, and I just took one of Brendan Burchard's courses. I think that if you're always learning and being mentored and being coached, by people who have attained levels of success in different areas that you want to. The reason I started Mentor Mojo was because I really believe in the mentorship relationship. I've had tons of mentors over the years. I've had specifically 2 that have been really, really important in my development and my growth. And I just believe it's so much easier to learn from somebody who already has done what you want to do. I don't know why anyone would want to recreate the wheel from scratch. I really don't. There's so many great people on planet Earth to learn from who've already accomplished exactly what you want to accomplish. And the more that you surround yourself with the people who have attained the levels of success that you're reaching for, the far more likely that you are to reach those levels of success too, because they know how to do it.
Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And there's a quote that I always mention to people. This is actually my quote, so I'm really proud of myself. Good. I usually say, never take advice from those who haven't achieved what you want to achieve.
Yes, I love that.
So, thank you. So someone who tried to do something you want to do and failed, that's not going to be a good advice. You have to seek out someone who actually did achieve success in doing what you want to do, and that's the person you should consult. So Andrea, a question about pretty much all of your brands.
Sure.
And all the companies that you run. Do you see a shift that's going more towards online, or should you say that looking for offline retailers is still very important? And actually, which one of the two would be more interesting and more important in your opinion?
Well, it depends on what your goal is, to be honest. So right now I'm actually starting 2 new t-shirt things. One has been going for several years, but I haven't been putting a lot of attention into it, Yoga Junkie. And then I also am setting up an Amazon store with a bunch of designs that I've done before. So this is just 2 use case examples for your listeners. The reason that it's super important for me to go into retail and continue to get more yoga studios and get into REI and get in front of people with Yoga Junkie is because I'm building a brand with Yoga Junkie, and I'm positioning it to be able to sell it one day, to sell the clothing company. So most purchases still for any type of clothing product are in person because they're an impulse buy. And people also, especially women, want to try something on before they purchase it. That still is the case. And so if you're building a brand, you definitely 100% need to be going into retail. However, if you just have slogan t-shirts that are just funny t-shirts, like it's great if you get in retail because you sell a lot of them that way, but it's not necessary. So when we push this stuff through the Amazon store, we actually will not be pushing that back into retail stores because it's a lot of work and the price points are so much lower, but you sell a lot more quantity. So it still is good. If you have a real brand, a real clothing line, you're still going to be doing 75% of your sales in retail locations, at least. And maybe 25 online. That would actually be high. You're probably going to be doing about 15%. If you have a line that's doing massive quantity, unless you're like Tipsy Elves or Sevenly or someone whose model is more like being online, unless you're like those companies, then most of your business is going to be retail.
Wow, that is actually the opposite of what I was thinking.
It's easier if you're good at SEO and if you're good at marketing and if you're good at Facebook, it's easier just to do stuff online. But if you want to build a brand, a massive brand, a brand like Tap Out, which sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth of merchandise a year, or license a brand like Minecraft, or own the sales rights on a brand like Minecraft, you have to be in retail. It's where most of your sales are coming from. Even if you're doing really, really good online, if you want to get into those 8 and 9 figures in sales, and then you have to be in stores.
Yeah, well, yeah. Honestly, I imagine if you get your T-shirt selling at Walmart all across U.S. or the world, chances are you're gonna make quite a bit of money selling those T-shirts.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I'm asking you because recently I got an email from Urban Outfitters.
They're great.
And they asked me to send them a sample of one of the products that I'm selling online.
Oh, great.
And I'm like super excited about it, but I know that it doesn't mean anything. They'll get the sample and who knows, maybe they'll be just like, we're not interested. But it's, to be honest, it's something that I haven't even considered. I haven't even considered pitching to offline retailers because I'm like, well, I'm making this product, I'm selling it,
what is it?
on Amazon. I'm selling through my website. That's it. That's good enough. So I never even thought that it's possible to actually pitch to,
Yeah. What is the product?
It's a personal care item basically for men.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. Congratulations. That's really great. People always ask me when is the right time to go into chain stores. And I always say when they're approaching you, that is really the right time because that means out of all of the noise and all of the products that exist, men's personal care is a very large space. They saw you, they liked your branding, they liked your product, and they thought it was an appropriate fit for their store. That's incredible. That's really great.
Yeah. All right, Andrea. So the next question I wanted to ask you was about the sticker junkie.
Oh, great.
Somehow it makes me think a little bit more of a t-shirt business model. I don't know. Somehow I think it's, kind of related, kind of the same or similar space. So tell me a little bit more about Sticker Junkie.
Well, nobody really knows this, but the way that Sticker Junkie actually started was I was selling t-shirts to Hot Topic, and I was their number one word t-shirt vendor for years back when they used to have walls of just word t-shirts. And all of the t-shirts we also would sell as stickers. And so all these bands, I lived in San Diego, Hot Topic was in LA, I was in LA a lot, and all of these bands would come up to us, we sold on Warped Tour in a couple different places, and say, hey, can you make our stickers? And I was like, no, it's because it's kind of a pain, because we're running our own stuff. And at that time, we didn't have our own presses. And finally, one day, 5 people asked me if I could make them stickers. And I was like, wait a minute, if I put all of you guys together that just need 100 stickers, because back in the day, you couldn't just print 100 stickers. You had to print 4,000 at a time. That's the way that screen printing works. If I put everybody that needed 100 stickers together in the same place, well, I could just make a killing because everybody needs stickers. Every band, every shop, every tattoo shop, every pizza delivery place, every group, every organization, every inside joke thing, they all need stickers. So
totally,
that's how it started.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting.
Back in 1999, we were the first custom sticker website on the internet.
Wow! So this is it's a legend at this point.
Yes, there are a couple of us who all think that we were first. I don't know who actually was first, but all of us have been around for so long that we all get to say that we're first. Is what I think.
That's awesome. I actually have a friend who started the sticker website locally in Montreal.
Oh, great.
And he started locally, but it was selling all over the world because just ship them out. And it was interesting because he did a lot of hustling and grinding by going to a lot of meetups. Well, basically his sticker company was based on a car team. So basically he was working with car clubs and whatever stickers related to cars. And he built a company to a pretty interesting level of income within a year or two. Mm-hmm. Then he got a really good offer to buy the company, so he sold it. And the funny thing is that within a year, the company that he sold went bankrupt, and he ended up starting another website from scratch, and he built it up to the same level that the first one was. So, see, in his case, what happened is that people that bought it, they just let it be out there. They just, left the website alone and they didn't do anything. As you talked about at the beginning of the podcast, marketing is huge. If you don't put your money into marketing, you're not going to make money. And that's what they failed to do completely. And, well, there you go. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of people on eBay selling stickers for years and years, like custom stickers. Well, custom. They're not custom. They have... let's say 10 or 20 different kinds of stickers, and they just keep remaking the same one. So it's not really custom.
Yep.
But as you said, it's a big business, and
it is actually.
There's a lot of demand.
Yeah, a lot of our Sticker Junkie clients actually purchase from us because if you buy like 1,000 stickers from us, it's $165 if you make them on the generator, so it's only 16 cents. So they buy the stickers from us, and then they turn around and sell them on Amazon or eBay for $2 or $3 each. It's fantastic business. Even if they only need 100 stickers and it cost them 40 cents, they're selling that 40-cent product for $2. This is really, really a very high margin product, even though it's a low dollar number overall. Mm-hmm. So if you can get volume on it, you're doing quite well because the margins are good every step along the way.
Okay, Andrea, I'm totally buying stickers from you guys.
Yay!
Next time. I'm going to need like 1,000 stickers soon enough. So that's where I'm going to go, stickerjunkie.com.
That's perfect. If you use the promo code STICKERLOVE, all one word, you get $10 off.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
For sure.
I'll use that.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrea. So I'd like to go a little bit back into your personal history as an entrepreneur, and could you share with us how it all happened? How did you become an entrepreneur instead of following the as we call normal path of getting a job and building a career working that job?
So do you know what? I actually started my first company when I was 18. I think I was 17, but about that age, 18. And it was these sticks where they're called rhythm sticks. Some people call them devil sticks. My company name was Rhythm Sticks. You hold one stick in each hand, and then you use the two that you're holding in your hands to throw around a third decorated stick. It's a juggling toy. I actually still sell them on Etsy because ours were the best ones ever. So if you type in Rhythm Sticks, STYX on Etsy, they'll pop right up. And it was a very organic, I didn't even think of myself as a business owner for a long time because it was a very organic process because I was so young. And I would make like 4 pairs and sell them for $20 each and take that money. And I made 12 pairs. And then I took that money and made 24 and 48. And then right about when I had sold 48, I had just made 48 pairs and I was selling at this little concert that my friends were throwing. It was a tiny, tiny concert. But a store owner who owned a head shop in San Diego came and said, "Hey, I'll buy 4 of those if you'll sell them to me for $15 each because I can sell them for $30." And I was like, That's amazing. So the next day I went and dropped his 4 pairs off. And then I went to every other head shop in San Diego that I knew about. There were 4 more stores and every single one of them bought from me. And I just couldn't believe it. And so then I thought, well, there's a lot of stores up in LA. And then I started selling to like the Space Theater and Science Center because the toys actually use centrifugal force and inertia and different physics principles, of course, that all juggling uses. And so I just started that way. And before I knew it, I was 18 and I had made like $40,000 that year. And that was all the money in the world. All the money in the world. That was like, I was just like a baller for an 18-year-old. And then the next year, I think we did like over 100,000 in sales and just hustling and selling these products pre-internet for commerce. This was in 93. And so it was all just like going to kite shops, going to toy stores, going to head shops and tattoo stores. Like it was a really broad range of a product because it was so beautifully made. And then because I was selling into these head shops and tattoo shops, I started meeting other vendors who were selling stuff there. And it is a long story, but I met this guy that was selling t-shirts, and he was making $10,000 a month selling t-shirts. And I was like, profit. And I was like, whoa, that is really all the money in the world. I am going to go do that. and it just occurred to me that it would be an easy market to go take over because, I was like this pretty young girl and I could go into these head shops and tattoo shops and the guys would buy stuff for me. And I was anti-establishment clothing. My products were fantastic. The brand was fantastic. I don't own it anymore. It's a completely different, somebody else is using that name. It's a completely different line. Mine was amazing. That's how it happened. So I never went to college. I just started my own businesses.
And actually, you never got a 9-to-5 job because you were busy with your businesses.
That's right. I did take between launching doing the Rhythm Sticks and launching the clothing company. I took an interim 9-to-5 job for 9 months to fund my first clothing company because it used to be really expensive to start a clothing company. So I was an escrow officer for a really short period of time when I was 22. And every single paycheck would just go to buying like t-shirts or buying a booth at a trade show or whatever I needed for that company at the time. Catalogs, catalog used to cost $3,500 to get catalogs made. And now you can, buy 100 catalogs for $80. That stuff didn't exist back then when I started Anti-Establishment in 98.
Wow, Andrea, that's a beautiful story and you're a real hustler, I guess.
Back then I was hungry. I was like, I don't have a backup plan. I don't have a college degree. If this doesn't go well, I'm done. This would be a problem. So, yeah. Yeah,
that's seriously an amazing story. And I love hearing stories like that. And I hope it inspires a lot of people who are listening to this podcast and gives them ideas on, it's now I think, and I'm kind of like not born, but raised through the internet age, right? Mm-hmm. So I see how easy it is to start anything that you want to start. Even, not start a business, but even test your business idea without investing money and really starting it. Mm-hmm. You could test it easily online and see if there's a demand for it and see if that's something you actually really want to do. So I can't even imagine how much harder it was back when internet didn't really work, and yet people did stuff like you. Well, I mean, just look at the stuff you did. It's really incredible that you've done all that without using the internet, and actually, got as far as you got.
Thank you. Yeah, it used to be. Dan and I talk about this all the time because he started Tap Out in 97. And we are just like, are you kidding? It was so hard. It was so hard to do anything. It's hysterical to me now. It was so much harder. Now, when we decided to come out with lessons.biz, all we did was one podcast, one of my friends' podcasts, Dane Maxwell from the foundation, Starting From Nothing. It was a 70-minute podcast, which is insanely long. I mentioned lessons.biz at minute 65. I'm like, nobody's even going to hear it. And because we hadn't even put up the site yet, but because I mentioned it, I'm like, well, let's just get a setup. We're the worst website ever. And we didn't mention it until 65 minutes into a 70-minute interview. I'm like, nobody's even going to hear that this is there. And we got 4 sales. And I thought, oh, okay, well, this is going to work. Because if people will buy on this terrible page, it doesn't say what the course covers, doesn't say when the course starts, doesn't say anything, and 4 people still bought it, I thought, okay, well, now we have a viable idea. But if it was 10 years before, I mean, we would have had to done 2 years worth of work and like really hustle and get in front of people. It's a different world.
Yeah, that is incredible. All right, Andrea. So you're doing all these businesses, and a lot of them sound exciting, and I'm sure there's a big part that we don't know, because it's not all that easy and pretty as it sounds from the outside. There's always like dark moments and hard things that we have to battle and come through. So tell me, was there like a really hard moment during your entrepreneur career that you got really I don't want to say depressed, but you felt really down and you thought, maybe I shouldn't do this whole business thing. It's way too hard and it's not working out.
Yes, for sure. There was, I've been to zero twice, and there was one particular time where I just didn't know what I was going to do next. And I ended up being $1.2 million in debt. It's terrifying. It was a lot of stuff happened at the same time where businesses were not going well, and it all happened in congruence with the economy crashing. And so it was devastating. Like, I just didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. We had one of our companies. I did a company that had subscription-based websites for best-selling spiritual authors. So we did the subscription sites for Gary Zukov and Don Miguel Ruiz and all of these authors who'd sold hundreds of millions of copies of their books. And we were on Oprah for an hour. She actually let us use her image on our sales page. And she never does stuff like that. She wrote an essay about how great one of our authors was and how people should be buying this information. Which is incredible. And then the sale still didn't go. It was just too early. And I had self-financed it. And so you hear about people who are raising like millions of dollars in venture capital, and then they lose it and it's terrible, but they're not on the streets. But when it's your own money, it's a different story. So I had to liquidate everything. I had to sell my house, and I cashed out my retirement savings. It was devastating. And I did get offered a job during that time that was a $400,000 a year job. And I didn't take it. I was like, nope. I am going to be able to figure this out. And I did not file for bankruptcy. I paid it all off. I just knew that I knew how to do this. I know how to make money. I know how to set up businesses that can generate revenue. And I don't want to work for anybody else ever. That was it.
Wow, that's harsh, but pretty incredible as well.
It was really hard, though. I don't want. It sounds so glib and so easy when I describe it, but I'm telling you, I was crying, curled up in a ball on the floor for months, devastated for months. So, and every entrepreneur that I know, just about, there are a couple who haven't, but screw them. Like every entrepreneur that I know has been through something like that, where it's not as extreme as my case, but it's just really hard, and it can be really isolating, and you don't know if you're going to be able to make it or what you're doing, and you feel like you just must be crazy, and maybe there even are people in your life that are telling you you're crazy to want to do this, but you really can do it. Every single thing that you see right now around you was made by a company that somebody owns. Everything.
Yeah, totally.
Some person that is not different than you, and you really can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that it must have been a lot harder because, you do describe it in a way that, it was hard times, over $1 million in debt, but I paid it off. We're not hearing all the details from you.
It was devastating.
But I can't even imagine, let's say, myself, if I found myself in this situation. I can't even think of how I would react to that. And I'm sure it wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be like, okay, I'll get out. It's fine. I'm sure it would be, total panic and depression and everything else.
It was for months.
But
for months, it really was. And being really unsure of yourself. I think that that's something that plagues a lot of entrepreneurs. Just feeling really frozen and very uncertain and not confident in my own ability. Yeah. And everyone that I know goes through that.
Yeah. For me, it was 2009. I think the whole financial crisis happened in 2008, right? But it took about a year for people to catch up to that. And since most of the customers online are from the US,
yes,
people just stopped buying whatever was selling or promoting. People just stopped buying, like out of the blue, just like that. It was, the business was, I saw the sales dying from week to week. Like 1 week I would sell half of what I sold the previous week, and the next week I would sell half and half and half until it got to zero. And it was the same kind of feeling of self-doubt, I would say, as you mentioned. And it's really conflicting because you're like, well, I think I know how to do this. I have done it, but yet it's completely back to zero. And now what the hell do I do now? I don't want to get a job, definitely. And I also prefer to not get a job and to figure out some other way. That served me as a really good lesson. First of all, in my case, of not putting all my eggs in one basket, because that's why my business failed back then, because that was my main source of income. And if everyone stops buying that specific product, or that specific industry stops working, well, you're kind of screwed. And that taught me to diversify, but yeah, it's something you have to push through. And my situation is nothing like yours was. It's like a million times better, I guess, and easier. But still, incredible story.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, because if you feel like there's rungs upon a ladder that you have to climb, and that if you've slipped back from them, it's shameful in some way, especially as an entrepreneur, especially when people are looking at what you're doing. It feels hard, no matter what the scale is. It can feel as hard at $5,000 as it does at $1 million. It doesn't really matter. It just feels like failure, and failure does not feel good. It just doesn't. It's not supposed to.
Yeah, totally. And then you have all these friends and family members who are telling you that, well, see, I told you business is really hard. I told you shouldn't have done that. I told you should have gotten a job. Well, maybe now is the good time to get a job, and you live happily ever after, like most of us.
Yeah. It can just be a really isolating experience. I actually didn't really share what was going on with anyone when it was happening, because I knew it would mess up my focus.
Yeah, totally. I understand that.
And it was embarrassing.
Yeah, I understand that too. But seriously, that's amazing how you managed to go through all that and battle that and get back on the top.
You know what the turning point was for me, which is why I'm so open when sharing my story? I watched Simon Cowell. A video popped up on my Facebook feed, which was Simon Cowell, an interview he did with Oprah, where he talked about how he had to go back and live with his parents when he was like 35 years old or 33 years old or something. Such massive failure. I think it was 33. And that was the same age that I was at the time. And it was so eye-opening. And I thought, well, if he can do that, and now the guy, I don't know if he's a billionaire, but he's close enough. And I'm sure if he could do that and he was in that place, I'm sure he must have felt the way that I feel now. And he got to where he is now. I'm sure I can do it too.
Yeah, totally. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it is good. And see, this is something that I've also have gotten into, I think in the past year mostly, like, motivation books and self-help and those kind of things that a lot of people, they don't really get it. And they're like, well, this is stupid. They're telling you to work hard and you see the results, the obvious. But yeah, although obvious, a lot of us fail to do that. I still do. I try to work a lot, but I do waste a lot of time on Facebook or watching YouTube videos. And I'm trying to prevent myself. And I'm kind of getting better at it because I am trying to allocate specific amounts of time for work and be like, look, I can't touch anything else but that. But you do need those reminders. In my case, I do need those reminders and those motivational books and videos that kind of, well, that's what they do. They remind me, no, knowing that you have to work is one thing, but actually getting that work done is completely another thing that most people don't do.
That's right.
So yeah, that helps me personally.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Actually, I just took Brendan Burchard's Oprah course, Your Next Bold Move, and it's so great. I worked with a bunch of spiritual authors, so I know a lot of these techniques. I've done a lot of these techniques, but it's nice to do different fresh ones to keep yourself invigorated, to keep yourself focused. I actually, if you go to lessons.biz and if you're feeling a little bit stuck, watch the video blog that I did on the Swiss cheese process. It's one of the ones that I personally use to keep progressing forward on the project. But I'm just like you. I think reminders are great, and the inspiration is vital because there's nobody looking. You're not like you don't work as General Electric. There's nobody looking over your shoulder to make sure that you turned in your assignment on time when you're an entrepreneur. So any hack that any entrepreneur can use to keep themselves motivated, I am completely in favor of it.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for sharing that, Andrea. All right. Since we're coming to the end of this podcast, I would like you to share your most crucial, most important tip to any beginner entrepreneur.
Perfect. I have 2. Is that okay?
Sure. 3, 4, 5, as many as you can. But, the ones that you think deserve to be called the most important ones and the best ones.
Well, this one changed my life. And my mentor, who is a multi-billionaire, ridiculous guy, told me this when I was very young, when I was like 25, and I did it, and it changed my life. And that is, put a dollar figure on your time. And at that point in my life, $20 was my dollar figure, which seemed like a whopping figure. I must have been less than 25 actually when I started doing this. But it was $20. And I realized that I guess I was 22. And I realized that I was like running the credit cards myself, because back in the day we didn't have credit card processing shopping carts. People would enter their credit card and you had to run it manually. And I was packing boxes myself. And I just thought, oh, okay, well, if I am worth $20 an hour, then I'm not going to be doing any of the manual labor anymore. So I hired somebody for $8 an hour, which was a lot of money at the time. And I made a deal with myself. So here is the deal. Put a dollar figure on your time. Hire your first person in for less than what your dollar figure is to do all of the busy work that's taking your time. And this is the most important part. Every minute that person is there, you're doing business development and making sales calls. Every minute. My sales increased 500% when I did that, because all that I was doing was making cold calls to stores to carry my product and sending out catalogs that she was, setting them up and sending them out. And I was making all of the follow-up phone calls. And so she at first was only there for I think 8 hours a week or 10 hours a week or something, but that was 10 additional hours of sales calls that I was making. And in a single hour, I could make $300 to $500 worth of sales. Sometimes more, and sometimes none, but no big deal. The other piece of advice that's really important when you take in an employee is setting expectations. This also changed the tone of my businesses. I have a speech that I give to my employees, every single employee that interviews with me that may get a job with me. And I say, don't be good, don't be great. It is your job to make yourself irreplaceable to me. If you are not irreplaceable to me, I run too far and too fast. I have too many projects. I promise that I will replace you. You will know it's coming. You will be aware of it, but nobody can keep into my pace of my business if they can't keep up with me. So it's your job to be extraordinary at what you do and make yourself super valuable to me. And in exchange, I will create a work environment that you really, really love working in, and you will feel fulfilled and it will be wonderful. But if you don't keep up, then I'm going to have to let you go. And so when I got that from the military, from the Marine Corps, they drill excellence into people in advance so people perform at their peak performance in life when they're in the Marine Corps, because they know that that's what's expected of them. So expectation setting could not be more important in my companies.
Wow. That is really amazing advice. And I think, thinking about, well, both of them. The first advice, delegating is huge, is super important, and it's something that I personally am struggling with. I'm still struggling to trust any task of my business to anyone, because and that's normal. I know it's normal to be scared of doing that, but I also know that I do have to. There's so many insignificant things that I do that I know I could spend my time so much more productively doing something else if I just hired someone to do these kind of tasks. But yeah, this is amazing advice. And your second one is, well, yeah, I see where to apply for your company.
Indeed. I actually have a really great piece of advice for getting over your stumbling point there, because I had a problem with that at first too. And now I am a master delegator, but it's 20 years later. Which is two things. I always think, number one, nobody is going to do this as good as me, and that is okay. Yeah. And B, I just look at it like, this person is going to be able to get this project 90% of the way. And so even if I have to go back and do a little bit of cleanup on something, it's so much easier for me to edit something somebody else has written and make it exactly the way that I want it to be, or to go back and add in a couple of nice touches that maybe were missed, than it is to do the entire thing from scratch myself. So I always think about it that way of like, even if this person gets me 90% of the way to the goal, then that's good enough.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I'll think about that. All right, Andrea. So I'm going to put up a show notes page with all the links mentioned today. So there is lessons.biz, yogajunkie.com, stickerjunkie.com. Any other websites you'd like to add?
mentormojo.com. And then if people want to keep up with what I'm doing, andrealake.com.
Okay, awesome. I'll put all of these websites, and I highly suggest people to check them out. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you here, and really amazing advice. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks so much, Alex. I hope you have such a great day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. As usual, I will be putting up a show notes page at extrapodcast.com/42. This is where you will be able to find all the resources and links and other stuff that we talked about today with Andrea on this episode. Also, head over to extrapodcast.com/iTunes. This is where you could subscribe to the show through iTunes Store, and also leave a review and a rating for the show, which will help me tremendously. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next Monday.